Well, hello everybody, welcome back to Four Lights Wellness. My name is Omid, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite exercises for 3 different reasons. Number 1, it's an amazing self-assessment tool that I give to clients often to kind of help explain why they have pain in a lot of parts of their body through compensations. Number 2, it's a great way to actually get rid of things like ankle pain, knee pain, back pain, hip pain, SI joint dysfunctions, a lot of stuff all in one exercise. And number 3, we get into this later in the video, so stay tuned at the end, but how I use this to actually get around anxiety, panic, disability of any kind mentally, and getting overall better mental balance in the first place. So the exercise itself, I learned this from a guy named Moishe Feldenkrais way back in the day. He calls it the hip and pelvic integrator. And I actually have a couple of modifications that I made myself over the years, but I want to show you my midsection here to show you that I have an arch in my back. And you lie down like this, you ragdoll everything else. And what we're looking for is to push the foot straight down to the ground. Boom, straight down to the ground. And what should happen is what you'll see right now. The pelvis goes backwards or posterior for you nerds out there, and it starts to rotate. And the reason that happens is that the foot, when you look at the anatomy of it, doesn't have a lot of structure to it. There's not a lot of muscle down there other than just to react reflexively to the surface that we're on, and then tell the rest of the body what the flip to do. And if everything listens well, what I should be feeling right now is my spine is moving one vertebra at a time into rotation simply because things are listening appropriately. There's ligamentous tension, there's fascial tension that's appropriate. All of the muscles are in coordination to each other. And eventually that foot pushing down tells the body so much to roll over that I can actually roll over. And this is the movement that should kind of happen when we walk. Imagine I take one step forward, the heel hits the ground, the hip goes forward, the opposite shoulder goes back behind me. And then on the way back down, I'm trying my best to pull with the hip back down as well to get this opposing roll. Now that's what should happen. Let's talk about how we can use this exercise to learn about compensations. And you'll see this on me pretty clearly. A lot of this is not acting with my lower back. What happens because of some injuries that I had when I was very little, my pelvis just goes, let's just say, askew. I'm doing my best to push this foot straight down to the ground on this right side. Watch what happens. Did you see it? The lower back immediately went into extension and the pelvis actually went anterior. And that's just glute stuff not turning on. I can come in here and I can just feel this muscle is not engaging. It's not listening to the foot. And the problem that I see a lot of people, especially my clients over the years, making is they try to go do clamshells, they try to go do donkey kicks or whatever thing to isolate out the glute to get it strong. And then they go and take a walk, which by the way is a completely different movement pattern. It won't work to translate. And they're not remembering that the second we take a step and that heel hits the floor, that's when the glute actually turns on. So you've got to include the foot in your glute training, otherwise it won't work. But let's say, for example, I can push more with the heel. One of the things you can do is pick up the toes. And now all of a sudden, hey, my glute turns on more. That's cool. Well, now am I feeling the whole glute? Well, I'm kind of feeling the bottom, but not the inside or the outside. So what if I take the foot to the side and load more onto the inside of the heel? Well, now I feel a little bit more of, let's say levator ani and all the pelvic floor muscles starting to kick in. That's cool. I can start to put the outside of the foot down with the foot moved inwards. And I can start to feel more, let's say glute medius, glute minimus, some of the side fibers of the glute max kicking in, some of the rotators of the hip turning on. There's more ability for me to rotate backwards with the pelvis. It's a beautiful little compensation that we can kind of put in. But let's say, for example, I see a lot of my clients, they get stuck somewhere and they'll do a couple different compensations. One, they'll just start pushing the knee over, which again, has the same goal, I guess, of rotating my pelvis, but it's not from activation, it's from yanking across. And you can see how some people would get some shearing across the lower back. They could get some overstretching from some ligaments on the side of the hip, leading to bursitis. They could get some medial problems in the knee from this, some ligament stuff in here from some strains. The other compensation I see a lot is people start to come through here, their hip can't rotate because they're lacking some mobility, and their head will start to try and come up first. Their shoulder will start to try and come up first to try and pull themselves around here. And that's a useful pattern for a baby, but not so much for when we're adults. That ends up starting to lead to a lot of jaw problems, could even lead to vision problems, hearing problems, because the side of the head gets so tight. Could lead to neck problems. It could lead to headaches and migraines, could lead to shoulder dysfunctions like rotator cuff or frozen shoulder, all because the body's not listening to the foot appropriately. We're going to get into the foot a little later in this video, but the goal of this is not to roll over. The goal is to reintegrate the system, to get the rest of the body listening to this foot as much as we can. And I'll tell you, one of the things you can do to help that is to look for about 1 to 3 hours of your day spent barefoot, as much as you possibly can without being weird in public, still being able to get into restaurants with the shoes and the shirt, right? But the reason that's so important, because that sensor system in the bottom of the foot needs to actually feel the ground. When you put shoes on, it's almost like you're putting earmuffs on the foot, and the foot then has to now hit the ground harder to feel the ground. And if the foot's slapping the ground harder, that's actually creating more impact in the rest of the body, and the body can't hear anything else otherwise. And it starts to lead to a lot of different problems. So we've really got to start doing that. Now, last thing I'm going to say about this, left to right, I'm not going to get into as much in this video. It's just outside the scope of it. But if the pelvis itself is not in balance, it's not in symmetry, which is why I'm spending so much time on this right hip today to get more symmetrical. There's often this left to right imbalance that actually leads to mental stress. This is this kind of forebrain versus hindbrain thing that goes on. But if the hindbrain is subconscious and it's detecting this imbalance, everything you're doing in your life tends to be a little bit of out of balance, especially if it has to do with something that is safety related, which is the theme in this area of the body. You'll start to find that you have some anxiety, some low-level anxiety, some low-level chronic tension in the system because it's trying to overcompensate for things. You might even find that you have a lack of ability to make decisions because of the hip not being able to move forward appropriately. So working on this is a great way to start getting some better decision making, getting some fear out of your life, some chronic anxiety out of your life, just chipping away at this from the musculoskeletal system itself. And if you're interested in that, or this is really helpful to you guys at all, I have a whole course on that I've mentioned on this channel a bunch of times called Healing Emotions. It's physiological exercises to go after specific mental health dysfunctions that I've used for hundreds of people and myself to just kind of go things from a different route than just talking about it. But that's going to be it for this video today. I mentioned the course. I've also got an email newsletter that I've been sending out and having a ton of fun with. Some of the things I talk about, I themed them a little bit. Like I'm about to go on the Napa wine train soon. And it's just a whole bunch of resources about how to drink with some health in mind and some other things that you want to think about as well. I had another one all about different hydration tips, just different wellness stuff that I put out there. Like and subscribe as always. And I do one-on-one coaching. If you have any other things that you want to know about, just drop them in a comment down below. I'll help you out, or just go to my website, click that get a consultation button, and we can chat for free for about a half an hour just to kind of see if it's going to be a good fit for us both. But that's it for this video. I hope this information is very helpful to you guys. As always, have a happy and healthy rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one.